Hello, this is Hot Indonesia, and welcome to those of you watching us in Canada. I'm Dalton Taranaka in Jakarta. Here is this week's HI Hotlist. Tough talk. When does public criticism become a crime? Business boost. The president says investing in Indonesia has never been easier. Is he right? And travel bubble. What it's like to take an international trip in these pandemic times. Now, here are my ATA-nominated co-hosts, Sandrina Malakiano, Deputy CEO of Polmark Indonesia from her home in South Tangerang, and Sandiaga Uno, former Vice Governor of Jakarta, back in his home in South Jakarta. Here's hot topic number one, tough talk. The Bali rock drummer Jering was not happy about a mandate that requires pregnant women to take COVID-19 tests. So he called the Indonesian Medical Association flunkies of the Advisory World Health Organization on his social media account. The group didn't like that, and last week Jering got 14 months in prison and a 10 million rupiah fine for hate speech. Sandrina, you are close to this subject, a close personal friend of Jering, and showed up in court in Bali for him. What was he expecting, and how was he reacting to the verdict?
Yeah, Jering is a good friend of mine. We have been involved in many social activities together. What you should know, Jering is a law-abiding citizen. He fully believes that he did not do any criminal acts. So for me personally and Jering's other friends, he is a very good man with a very kind heart. He is not a criminal, not a bad person. This was proven and emphasized in court, Dalton. So many testimonies, strong arguments from legal as well as professional experts underline the fact that Jering should not have been tried, moreover, be put behind bars. So naturally, Jering and his legal team had this expectation that he would be found not guilty, hence set free. Regarding this matter, both me and my husband totally agree with Jering. We believe that if based on a democratic country's law and justice system, Jering should not have been given such a punishment. But apparently the judges have their own opinions. Jering was sentenced to 14 months in prison, as you mentioned, and 10 million rupiahs in fine. But I witnessed how he faced the sentencing in such a cool way. Whatever the decision, I believe this painful process Jering is undergoing will make him wiser, stronger. And as I stated on my IG account, one day after the court ruling, Jering's imprisonment will actually make him a legend.
Yeah, it does. It has for other people. Now, one more quick question for you, Sandrina. Jering has been an activist, as you mentioned, on several public causes. But this cause, doesn't affect a lot of people, and it's for a health reason. I had to have a COVID-19 test for my eye surgery. So what was the real problem he had with it?
People should know also that Jering is not against medical workers. He appreciates the amazing work of all medical teams who selflessly fight to save lives in the front lines. In fact, he also held charity concerts for medical workers. What he was fighting against was the fact that there were cases where compulsory rapid tests delayed the badly needed medical assistance for women in labor. It was mandatory for those women to provide rapid test results in order to get medical assistance, and this demand caused delay in giving assistance to those women, which then took the lives of their babies. Now, Jering felt he had to speak up.
Yeah, no, I understand. If it affects the health of the mother, then you got to make exceptions. Now, Sandy, Indonesia's IT laws have been criticized as being too broad. What is the line between valid criticism and defamation?
Well, first, my heart and prayers are with Jering and his family. It's really unfortunate times. But you got to go back that the origin of the ITE law in Indonesia is to foster mainly for digital transactions, for business purposes. But nowadays, we have a huge e-commerce. Thanks or no thanks to the ITE law, we have fintech, cashless customer base that creates millions of jobs, quality jobs for our young populations. And I think we should push toward my campaign last year for the Indonesians' last presidential election is to push forward for amendment or revisions to the ITE law to make sure that cases such as Jering's cases are going to be separated with this huge overlapping use of our law and make sure that this ITE law is for the benefit of the people, and making sure that the intention of the law is for the prosperity of the people, jobs, creating benefit, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, this law has been mostly used for defamations on social media, which is rampant. And we all make emotional statements one day about such things, and when we are upset. But it's once you have a digital track record, it's very hard to go back, and once you get reported, because of this such a wide use of this ITE law, then you have multiple interpretations of the law, and this is something that we need to revise.
Yeah, Sandy, a lot worse things are said every day in other countries and groups about groups and people in other countries, particularly the United States. Is what we have now here a consequence of a relatively young democracy?
Yes, obviously it's like a pendulum. Young democracy, you want to have really the liberty to voice, and actually there have been defamations cases going on based on this ITE law, which is in the political circumstances, and you see cases, even lawyers and judges are often not sure exactly what a particular statement would mean, but because of the wide interpretations of the law, you would have very difficulties in having this law being implemented, and that's why I said that there needs to be revisions whereby the ITE law would need to be focused more. If it's for transactions on the digital economy, yes, let's focus on the digital economy and make sure that people will not be prosecuted for objecting to certain policies, but rather creating a dialogue so that we could have a much better public policy going forward. And criticism of government or public officials should not be a defamation, but it should be a feedback for the governments to improve and create a very sort of like participatory dialogues, so we could have a much improved policy going forward.
Yeah, I think it should be a right of any citizen to criticize a public official. Now, Sandrina, last question, quick answer, please. So you're saying Jering, your friend, is prepared to accept his sentence, or do they plan to appeal?
Well, they were given 7 days to think about it, whether to appeal or to just accept the punishment. But we are still in that time frame, so we don't know yet. We have to wait and see. But what I was about to say is that, Dalton, it is a fact that there are cases where someone or even a group of people who took someone else's life, they were only charged with 1 year imprisonment, impairing Novel Baswedan's by taking his eyesight permanently. 1 year imprisonment. Jering, saying Kachung WHO gets 14 months. Where's the justice in this?
Sure, they were asking for 3 years.
Yes, of course. That's even worse.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the revision Sandy was talking about,
Yeah.
not just the ITE law, but sentencing. That's another sore point in this country. Okay, Hot Indo will continue shortly with Business Boost. New laws and presidential cheerleading. Is it wise to invest here? You're watching Hot Indonesia with Sandrina, Sandy, and me. Here's hot topic number 2, Business Boost. He made his pitch during the recent Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, President Joko Widodo saying the new job creation law is the key to unlocking new investment in this country. He pointed to cutting overlapping laws, eliminating red tape to get licenses, and ending corruption as immediate benefits. But that is easier said than done, and it's been said before. Sandy, what makes you buy what Jokowi is selling?
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt this time, but God's is in the details. We have the right narratives. We need to cut red tapes for investments. We need to deregulate. We need to speed up the bureaucracy, and as well as we need to be more aggressive in attracting investments. But the narratives is not enough. the law, the job creation bills, supposed to be followed up by implementing regulations. For instance, we see our neighboring countries of Vietnam and other ASEAN countries is basically moving forward to have investments and attract more jobs in a particular sector. So we need to create this Indonesia Incorporated.
Sure, and of course, business groups are supporting what the president is saying, noting that in this global health pandemic, Indonesia is among the leaders in adopting e-commerce and has the world's fourth largest smartphone market. But Sandrina, to me, the corruption reference cannot be underemphasized. Investors will not come if they know the playing field is dirty.
Precisely. We cannot expect to have a strong inflow of investment if corruption still lingers like a ghost in the corner of the room. So let's take a look at two relevant data. First, Indonesia's ease of doing business, or EODB, rank is improving from being a number 114 in 2015. Now we are ranked at number 73. This means Indonesia is on the right track in improving this investment climate. And secondly, Indonesia is still in a bad place when we talk about the Corruption Perception Index issued by Transparency International. From a scale of 0 to 100 last year, our index was 40. Good to know. This is a number which is better, because in 2015 our corruption index was 36, but it is not good enough. We are way below Singapore, even below Malaysia. So I agree that one of our most important homework is to eradicate corruption more seriously. In this context, we could say that the job creation law could bring some good news, but don't forget, Dalton, before this, a year ago, there was a correction or revision on the corruption law, which could be seen as a mean to weaken the process of eradicating corruption.
Sandy, we are in a pandemic recession, as you know. What signs do we need to see that we're actually climbing back?
Well, first of all, we need to make sure that the infection cases of COVID-19 are under control. We need to make sure that we flatten the curve. We need to make sure that we listen to the scientific data and that COVID-19 pretty much is being put as a priority. Secondly, is this job creation bill is designed to create or attract investments. But what kind of investments? We need to focus on good quality investments that create jobs, but also focus on sustainability, making sure that the environmental aspect is being taken care of, and also making sure that the social impact is not going to increase or widen the injustice or the Gini ratio, which is actually quite alarming due to the pandemic. So I guess at the end of the day, job creation bills per se would not solve our problem out of the pandemic, but it takes both the health care interventions as well as these investment bills. Hopefully, by the two sides working side by side, we need to chart our way out of this pandemic and the recessions.
Okay, there is a tremendous need for liquidity, so business and property prices are at bargain levels. The workforce is very hungry. Sandrina, could the president be more than cheerleading?
The president is not and should not be cheerleading. Therefore, the president must focus on facilitating several matters. For example, economic recovery programs must really take place immediately. This means speed and actual cleaning up of rent seekers. The nation has to be free of rent seekers. Economic recovery must be done fast now. On the other hand, the president must firmly take charge to ensure that rent seekers don't corrupt, disturb, or slow down the process by commercializing pandemic management and economic recovery programs. Secondly, focus on creating more job opportunities. Dalton Polmark, Indonesia's regional as well as national surveys, show that the Indonesian people demand the government to overcome the scarcity of job opportunities, help increase their income, and provide affordable basic needs. So I believe if these two problems are solved, then we could revive many economic sectors, including the business and property sectors. Above all, I hope the president will not put his priorities in the wrong places, like helping big companies first. He should focus on providing support to help low and middle income families, micro, small, and medium scale businesses, people hit the hardest by this pandemic.
And that's a criticism of the job creation law, that it affects the workers at that level. Okay, more Hot Indo is ahead. With Travel Bubble, how making an international trip isn't as difficult as you think. You're watching Hot Indonesia from Jakarta. Here's hot topic number 3, Travel Bubble. International flights are available to and from some destinations. It depends on the COVID-19 situation and countries involved. You can check online. One group from Indonesia recently took a trip to Egypt to take in the pyramids and do a little bit of business. Now, the man leading that group was our own Sandiaga Uno. Sandy, for those of us wanting to travel overseas, dying to travel overseas, quickly, do checkpoint what preparations were needed for you and your group?
First of all, we need to make sure that we adhere strictly to the COVID-19 protocol, and that starts at home. We need to make sure that we got tested, and then making sure that the destinations, and this in particular, Turkey and Egypt, are now opening up their doors for tourism, and tourism makes up 30% of the jobs for Egyptians. So they really badly needed international tourists, and also Turkey. So during the trip, both two countries are also requiring us to submit the test results. And then because we spent more than 6 days in Egypt, going back, we also need to be tested. And while we were there, I was really, really impressed by how that tourism is playing such a significant role, and they are transforming by this strict discipline approach. Hand sanitizers everywhere, mask on, basically at all time, maintaining social distance, marking, public service announcements, and making sure the bus is not filled up to its capacity, but rather 50%.
Sandy, 2 years ago, I went on a holiday trip to Egypt with my family. Two dominant impressions we got there were tourism sites were always full of visitors, and that the level of discipline of the people was quite low, unfortunately, especially in the busiest parts of town. Has the situation there changed? How are the people, in your opinion, what you saw there, were they implementing health protocols in terms of awareness and discipline?
Well, we are led by a husband and wife team, Sabah Tour and El Casas Tour in Egypt and in Indonesia. They make sure that the sites that we're visiting would be the sites that don't runs little or no risk in terms of social distancing or people gathering in mass. But they showed us the street markets whereby we see peoples are everywhere, and I think there's not really strictly adhered to and implemented this social distancing in some part. So yes, you can visit, but you need to make sure that you go to places that have been certified by the government, that are safe for you to visit. So when we were in the pyramid, for instance, it was basically not too many people, and clearly that the police, the military, making sure that this tourism and the tourists would feel safe to visit.
Last point, Sandy, did you have to quarantine when you came back to Indonesia? Did your group have to?
We consulted with the medical team here. because we did the swab test on the way out from Egypt, there is no quarantine requirement, although I am also administering for my family. Basically, we call it isolasi mandiri, which is like a self-mandated quarantine for ourselves.
It is feedback time, and here's what we got this week. Waldo posted this on the YouTube page of our partner TV1 following our discussion of the U.S. election. Obama will always be in our hearts. Many Indonesians feel that way, Waldo, and I was wondering where Waldo was. And Giselle had this to say in Instagram regarding this country's huge online addiction. Does the number of internet users indicate Indonesians have way too much free time? You said it, Giselle, I didn't. Here's how to contact us with your feedback. Email at hotindo@theindonesiachannel.com or comment through our Hot Indonesia or Indonesia channel, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Final words, Sandrina.
Thursday, 4th week of November, which falls on the 26th of November, is the time when Americans celebrate one of their national holidays, Thanksgiving. This is the day to celebrate and express gratitude and thanks to the Almighty Creator for all the good things received or experienced throughout the year. It is also known to be the time where families and friends gather to share warmth, love, and happiness. Of course, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving here in Indonesia, but I believe there is no harm in underlining the spirit of this holiday. Despite the pandemic that has hit us all real hard, there are still a lot of things we need to be grateful about in 2020. The pandemic has brought families and people closer together. Our houses have become the center of our activities, so everybody has returned home not only to their houses, but most importantly, to their families. This is a good thing.
Final word, Sandy.
Earlier in the week, it's a National Teachers Day, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank all my teachers from kindergarten to just recently completed my PhD studies. And in particular, my mother, who is a teacher herself. Thank you, and thank you for making who I am now.
Okay, and my final words. First, love to our birthday girl, Sandrina. Also earlier this week, she celebrated her birthday. I always say the day someone is born is the most important event of the year to celebrate. And a plug for our upcoming Indonesia Channel special program. I interview the former Nissan chairman who escaped house arrest from Japan in a box. Exclusive. Carlos Ghosn airs Tuesday, December 1st, 10 p.m. Jakarta time. He makes many compelling points. And that is Hot Indonesia for this week. For Sandrina Malakiano and Sandiago Uno, I'm Dalton Taranaka in Jakarta. Thank you for watching. Please join us again next time.